All right, we'll talk then just briefly about quality assurance. And this really has to do with the inspection process, which is already in place. You code officials who are here today obviously have a lot of responsibility in this area to make sure that structures are being built to code, and many of those code requirements have to do with the weatherproofing and exterior parts of the building, which are really important. We talk about special inspections. We're talking about high wind and high seismic areas primarily, but that is also important to make sure that there is structural integrity. So if we're talking about durability for these structures, that often has more to do, is more involved than just protecting it from the weather elements that can cause mold and decay. It's protecting against hurricanes and earthquakes that could create problems with the exterior of the structure and create a breach. So those details, if inspected properly, can go a long way toward protecting the structure long term. Conformance to standards. We talked about the quality marks and making sure that you have products that are approved with or have those quality marks that show they go through the rigorous quality process through the standards development process or evaluation reports for some of those proprietary products. We'll finish up here talking about the resources available. We mentioned this one at the beginning of the program. WCD6, Design of Wood Frame Structures for Permanent, talks about good construction practices, drainage, separation, dealing with condensation and barriers, durability issues like naturally durable materials, pressure treatment, and non-pressure treated. We have another document available on our website for wood deck construction. Of course, decks are, for the most part, exposed, and so there's a lot of good industry practice for wood products used in deck applications and fasteners exposed to the elements, and so we deal extensively with those issues in the wood deck construction guide as well. The USDA Forest Products Lab Wood Handbook, if you just Google that title there on the screen, it'll get you to a free document. There's a lot of great resources. Chapter 13 deals with drying and control of moisture, dimensional change for wood products. Chapter 14, biodeterioration of wood. Chapter 15, wood preservation. Again, a very, very helpful and good resource. They've also done a series of videos on the FPL website, a moisture management series for foundations, walls, roofs. So that's a good source. Our sister association in Canada, the Canadian Wood Council, also has some good resources. You may recognize some of these photos that I borrowed from them for the slides, and so this is good information as well from our friends north of the border, but obviously these have application all across North America. Another sister association, Rethink Wood, and you see the web address there. You saw some of the photos from a CEU that they've developed for designed for durability, and you can also pick up additional CEU credits on their website. Many of what's the thumbnails shown here on this slide include CEUs from Rethink Wood. Our sister association Woodworks provides a lot of good information as well, and also project support that Marcy will share with you here in a second. But that's another resource. And our sister association APA has resources as well. Build a Better Home, construction details for moisture-resistant homes. So you see a lot of the common elements here are protecting wood from moisture, and that's really the key. And so I'm going to stop there because we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to ask Marcy to come and close us out, and then we're going to come back after that for some Q&A.
So the first question has to do with where does the code define naturally durable wood?
Great.
And where does one get design values for those?
Okay, good question. Thanks for that. The Chapter 2 of the IBC actually defines naturally durable wood. It talks about the heartwood of the following species and then lists the ones that I shared earlier on a slide. And so it gets fairly specific, and it actually includes one that I maybe missed on the slide. I have to go back and update that. Black walnut is included as a naturally decay-resistant species, and then it's pretty specific for termite resistance with the redwood, Alaskan yellow cedar, eastern red cedar, and western red cedar. So take a look at Chapter 2 of the IBC. Design values for those come from the NDS supplement. So use the NDS supplement the way you would for any other wood product and pull your design values from there.
Great. Okay, one more question came in regarding the reference to the FEMA document related to stainless steel fasteners.
Okay.
They just wanted to get clarification on that.
Yeah, so that's a FEMA technical bulletin, and so what I'm going to do here and see if I can make this happen, I'm going to actually go to the document on our website, which is our DCA6 Prescriptive Residential Wood Deck Construction Guide, and you saw me navigating to that. So if you want to search for that document yourself, I'm going to scroll down here to the commentary, because I think down here in the commentary is where we talk a little bit about that, and we'll see if I can get kind of chapter and verse. So under number 7 here, let me make that a little bit bigger for folks to be able to see that. We talk about FEMA Technical Bulletin 8-96, corrosion protection of metal connectors in coastal areas. Recommends stainless steel fasteners be used in areas exposed to salt water. I thought maybe we had something in here about distance to shoreline, but we may have removed that just because it varies so much from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So check with your local code officials, see if they have anything more specific about distance to shoreline for that.
Great. One more question regarding, can you talk a little bit about glue laminated timbers between Douglas fir and southern pine and incising factor and how that all relates in the absorption of preservative treatment?
Yeah, so I was kind of hoping one of our glue lamp manufacturers would bail us out here. I'm gonna probably have to beg off on that whole question of incising glue lamp because I've heard different things. I'm pretty confident southern pine glue lamp does not have to be incised for the same reasons that southern pine lumber does not have to be incised, because it soaks up the preservative so readily. Now for Doug fir, I know for Doug fir lumber and timbers, incising is generally used. You folks out on the West Coast see that all the time in the piers and decks. I don't know, and so I'm going to recommend you talk to Western manufacturers about incising, unless, Michelle, you were able to find the answer.
Well, the Table 5.3.1 in the NDS does not have an incising factor. That's
Okay.
the applicable adjustment factors for structural glue laminated timbers.
Yeah, but as I recall, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't incise them. It just means that because glue
Right,
lams are so big, there's really no strength reduction
right.
by
I think that,
incising them. And so that's really
exactly.
the issue. It may be incised, and maybe that's really the answer for designers out there is even if it is incised, if the glue lam is incised, you're not going to have a strength reduction for it. So if it is required to get the preservative treatment, that's fine, but you don't have to take a reduction. So that maybe I can bail myself out of the not knowing by giving that answer.
Okay, you have time for one more question?
Sure thing.
Where does the code have provisions for building envelopes?
Oh, great question. And one of our code official experts sent me some of this right before the webinar. So I'm going to ask Brian because I think I sent him some of these links. So we didn't get this included. We probably, if we decide to expand this to maybe a 2-hour webinar or seminar at some point, we might add these. But what Brian just shared with you is from the International Building Code up in the administrative section. 107.2.4 deals with exterior wall envelope, and then 1403 and 1405 of the IBC, you can see some additional code provisions that deal with that exterior envelope. So those are really good resources to take a look at, study, and probably something we'll be adding to this program for future seminars and webinars. So I think that's probably about all the time we have for questions, Michelle. So thank you all
Yep.
for being here today, and we'll hopefully see you next month.